executive of the Trump Organization and author of All Alone on the 68th Floor, How One Woman Changed the Face of Construction. Good to have you back. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Allan Weisselberg, when you got there to the organization, he was already working, but he was working for Donald Trump's father, Fred, out in Brooklyn.
That's right. He worked for Fred.
And can you talk about his role? I mean, his role now, I guess, is, I don't think he was chief financial officer back then, but what was his role back then?
It wasn't the chief financial officer back then. I mean, when he worked in Brooklyn, I was working on Trump Tower in Manhattan, right? And that was really the only big project we had in Manhattan. Brooklyn used to pay us. I mean, they did everything went through Brooklyn except the job expenses, which went through an outside accountant. But all the bills and all the invoices and all the collection of rent and all the payment of little invoices and things, that was all done by Allan.
Do you think it's, Michael Cohen certainly seemed to indicate time and time again Allan Weisselberg's presence in the room during, what investigators believe are important moments, or Allan Weisselberg's signatures on checks. Do you believe he would know more than Michael Cohen, who was there for 10 years?
I personally don't. I think that that he might know more about the exact numbers, like the fact that money moved from this hand to that hand. But I don't know that he would know much about details. I think that would have been more between.
Would he know? I mean, if he's Allan Weisselberg as chief financial officer, does he have access to all the financial records?
He probably does. Yes.
So he could have looked at tax returns. He could have looked at. I mean, he would have access to.
He would have access, but I don't know that, for instance, tax returns, he didn't do them. They had accountants that did that.
But if Michael Cohen is consulting with Allan Weisselberg about how to pay hush money to a porn star, that's out of the realm of most chief financial officers.
Yeah, I would say so. But again, I think of him more as Donald's accountant than a chief financial officer for a big company.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. If he's Donald's accountant, then he certainly knows, it sounds to me like he would know a great deal about sort of the personal machinations of Mr. Trump.
I think that was one of his main jobs, to do everything that Donald spent money on, President Trump spent money on, or needed to collect personally. It was all, Allan oversaw all of that, I'm sure of that.
Right, so if that's the case, if he's got other payments to women, if there are other, he's got loan problems, and he's got, Felix Sater, who has an office on the floor, who had, former ties to Russian mob figures. Allan Weisselberg would be aware of that.
If it had to do with Trump's direct own personal finances, yeah. Through a bank, maybe not.
Right. But Trump's own personal finances seem to me to be sort of at the core of this.
And they appear to be, absolutely.
Yeah. What's he like?
Allan?
Yeah.
He used to be, when I knew him very well, and I knew him well. He was a very low-key guy, humble kind of guy, lived in Queens, not Queens, Long Island. He called Donald, which we called, everyone called him Donald, he called him Mr. Trump. He was, that kind of, he was a Mr. Trump guy. He was not in the top tier, so to speak. He wasn't in the inner circle. But it was, he did his job.
Would Allan Weisselberg sign off on things without Mr. Trump's knowledge?
I do not believe that anyone would sign off on anything major without Donald.
That's the way the organization worked. Donald Trump had oversight of everything.
Some kind of approval, some level of approval, yes.
And it was just set up because most organizations aren't necessarily, people delegate, that's not the way the Trump organization.
It's not that big an organization. People tend to think of it as this massive.
Right, he talks about 10,000 employees.
I know, it's just, when I was there, it was only 7 or 8 people, and then it grew. But I mean, it's got, certainly people can do their own thing, and people have responsibilities.
Right, when he talks about 10,000 employees, I mean, he's talking about groundskeepers at
and dealers at a casino. I don't know if he still has them, but that kind of thing.
I don't think he has many dealers.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Barbara Ress, good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
It. Joining me now is Barbara Ress, a former executive of the Trump Organization.